When the Chicago Blackhawks won their third cup in 6 years back in 2015, it was rightfully hailed as an unbelievable achievement. Though the NHL hadn't seen a repeat champion in almost 20 years, the Hawks had formed their own version of a dynasty in a league that had a system in place to prevent them. If Harry and Marr were Bettman and Daly, Stan Bowman was Kevin McAllister, f***ing around with them like every conniving little bastard this side of Lake Michigan during Christmas.
Hello.
Sure, complicated and capological moves had to be made under threats of death by restriction, but in the end, they survived, advanced, and made us all kiss the rings. And cups. And Conn Smythes. And top 100 rings. Okay, I share your sentiment on the last accolade, but come on. You gotta admit they were pretty damn good. And just a side note, before you intellectually just enlighten us with your insight that a majority of these fans that celebrated these championships weren't around during the dead period, so to speak, I want you to do something for me, okay? Cut off your limbs, burn your wallet, surrender your dignity, and put yourself in a Hawks sweater in 2004 when this was going on. Yeah, I know you're all lining up to be one of the 13,000 people supporting a guy who thought this was a sound business practice. I mean, it doesn't make sense! It makes no sense! Before I reach cabin pressure by digressing any further, the Blackhawks enjoyed a burst of glory that will be remembered forever as a defining example of a modern reload. It deserves to be celebrated, alongside many of the other dynasties that preceded it. However, this is the new NHL, trademark, and in the words of a misunderstood third grader with static growth disorder, even if newfound, all glory is fleeting. The perfectly timed hire, the winner, the stash, the 452 wins, the 3 cups, the guy who single-handedly brought disco back from the dead for 15 seconds only to show us what he thought of it in its legacy moments later. This man is an undeniable fucking legend in this game. And he was let go! Something I honestly could have seen happening this coming spring. Yeah, you know where I'm going here. Remember when Mike Babcock left the Red Wings? He blessed Detroit with his Medusa stare, staunch presence, and
really good players and opportunity
for a solid decade. He won his share, made his share, and when the message got stale, the parties mutually moved on. Joel Quenneville's situation was shaping up to be similar. He too racked up a decade plus in tenure. The man made his money, won as many championships in that time span as the franchise had previously earned in a period as long as Kingdom Hearts 3's development cycle, and was nearing the end of his contract. The signs of his message getting stale were there, with other players having success elsewhere. There was internal tension within the organization for years. Change was coming, and the writing was on the wall. But why was he scapegoated for failing to clean up a mess that wasn't his? Picture the topping off of a big, beautiful mansion that evokes the aura of a glorious era not too far removed from the present. Overhead, it looks like the perfect abode to sink your dollars into. Raise a family in. Build equity into downsize in the future. My econ classes are paying off, as you can tell. A reliable stable. You know, except it doesn't have any wood, concrete, or contractors to support it because you lost all the extra money to fund these things in a bad Lumentum investment. That's not a personal example. That's the current roster for the Chicago Blackhawks. And last I checked, Quenneville didn't hold the keys to its construction. At least not the official final say. No. The man you're looking for is up in the general manager's chair in the rafters of United Center. Bowman has been the architect in the Windy City since Dale Talon was demoted in the first of his front office 30 for 30s. Scotty's offspring inherited a pretty special core, and despite having to send out important pieces every other year, he managed to keep the foundational group intact. He even sprinkled in quite a few solid acquisitions to help move the needle and extend the window. As the banners show, he didn't exactly piss on the Picasso in his first 5 seasons and was able to finish what Talon started. For that, he deserves some semblance of credit. But it's a what have you done for me lately kind of life in the NHL, and the cachet of past success fades quickly. Some places quicker than others. The construction of this roster wasn't exactly reminiscent of the patient shovel day-offs and ballsy poils. Q was quite stingy at times with his preference of veteran players, but that's why the position of GM and coach are split. You need differing viewpoints in a front office to hash out a compromise that works, or else you end up drafting Luke Kennard and Stanley Johnson over Donovan Mitchell and Devin Booker. Who would do that? I haven't watched a game in 10 years. But what happens when your GM starts to overvalue loyalty to players that brought past championship success and all the regressed skills that come with familiarity? I'll tell you from experience. You get a shell of your former self on the fast track to purgatory, chasing a dream that's just not there. And you trade a guy like Nick Leddy. Now, I know what you're gonna say. They won the cup anyway, so why bother with it? They were up against it. It was a salary dump. Timeout. This is how you do a salary dump. This is not. At the time, Leddy was a bottom-pairing defenseman that was known to take one too many chances, you know, like all 22-year-olds trying to make it in the league. However, you couldn't knock his impact in moving the puck, even if it was in a sheltered role. 31 points, a presence on the power play, 16 minutes a night, that's a damn fine weapon to have in your back pocket. Your back-end pipeline was filled with some thought-to-be future NHLers tooling up in the minors, but Leddy was already rounding into NHL form. Besides, there were other older options to choose from that could have been packaged with a sweetener. Yeah, he had a no-move clause, but hey, this guy had a 16-team trade list and his contract was way worse. One of those young D could have taken a spot next to Leddy in a highly sheltered third pair. Maybe you could have moved him up with a defensively responsible Nicholas Hjalmarsson as Johnny Oduya coasted into his mid-30s, pending Q's preferences. Brent Seabrook was about to turn the corner on Trento with 2 years remaining on his deal, and Leddy was under team control for one more as an RFA. Why not create competition for that dough and incentivize both to play their best? Nope. This entire hypothetical. Give me 2 career AHL defensemen and a backup goalie. Oh, and throw the money at a guy that had an insane playoff round and concerning underlying numbers. It's not like a spring rival of ours did that the season before. God! If the Leddy trade was the nail, Seabrook's contract is the jackhammer constantly stabbing your coffin and not letting you die in peace. And I know, we all have 20/20 vision with a little hindsight. He's fallen off a cliff since and it's easy to critique now. However, the numbers warned us long before this 8-year, $55 million anchor was drawn up with the blood of the advanced stats community. Though he was putting up some solid offensive campaigns as a compliment to Duncan Keith, the highest point producer among NHL defensemen in those 8 years, mind you, he wasn't exactly the greatest at 5-on-5 for much of it. Up to 2015, even though he started a majority of his shifts in the offensive zone, the puck was back in Chicago's end on more than one occasion when he was on the ice. The 3 seasons prior saw little improvement, and with the wrong side of 30 looming, let's just say it was very unlikely he'd age well with a constant 22-minute workload. I won't deny his importance to the Hawks during the cup runs on and off the ice, and there's no knock to the guy personally. At a decent rate and a lower ice time, he could be a nice veteran guy you can slot into your bottom 2 pairs. However, when you're retooling, you pay for future performance and let go of the past. It's tough to split personal relationships, but for the betterment of the team long term, it's necessary for survival. The thing is though, the Blackhawks did this with so many team favorites beforehand via trades. What made him so different? Probably this. Okay, I get it now. You know what, f it, pay him $9 million. Seeing Leddy and Seabrook battle it out for the money would have been a very hot storyline to follow, but we can't have all our higher budget and highly unethical versions of Nick Gas meets Katniss Everdeen Survival Hour meets The Thinning with Logan from Spider-Man hypotheticals come to fruition. With Leddy out of the picture, giving Seabrook his cash turned into a no-brainer for the organization, especially after that baller playoff added to an already established tenure as a leader. Hell, he looked fantastic the very next season, setting career highs in goals and points. Don't you know looks can be deceiving? The impact of this contract would soon produce a butterfly effect from hell, like, what the f is going on in this game? Though not as emotionally scarring, shipping Philip Deneau to Montreal for 2 journeyman death players didn't pan out. Tossing Teuvo Teravainen to the Corsi boys as a throw-in to reduce the further compromised salary structure looks worse every day. However, in this collection of roster oversights, 2 separate deals that might as well have been one singular transaction compromised the roster beyond Q's repair. Hjalmarsson was arguably the best defensive defenseman in the NHL at the time, and is still pretty stout in his early 30s. He'd grow up, start a family, raise 2 kids, retire and die in the defensive zone off the faceoff, and would somehow turn a profit on the Corsi meter night in and night out, earning a staple as Quenneville's shutdown man. He was another lifer that never seemed to get the credit he deserved, yet he got the shaft because hello again darkness, you never get old, never will! It remains to be seen what Connor Murphy turns out to be, but that's not ideal. You know what else isn't ideal? Banking on prior success versus trying to go for it with a borderline elite player. Let's preface this deal with a disclaimer. Brandon Saad is not a bad player. He's actually a very good player. But very good? Borderline elite. Very good? Borderline elite. Very good? Borderline elite. Saad had plenty of success with Jonathan Toews in the regular season and playoffs alike. He then proved he could be a more than capable winger in Columbus away from him, scoring 55 goals in 2 seasons with the Blue Jackets. But you had 2 years of free Panera staring at you right in the face. I'm talking the tuna salad sandwich, 4-cheese grilled cheese, the Cuban, the heritage ham and Swiss, the Chipotle chicken avocado melt. And, you know, a line that kind of lit the world on fire and just happened to not score due to an 0-3 Jaguar-esque performance. I know Saad was locked up for a couple more years and brings more of a two-way game, but with Taze and Kane in their primes, wouldn't you rather have the more dynamic player to complement them and drag an overpriced third-line center to 20 goals and 40 points? I can tell you he's been the same since. Even if the contract impasse comes up down the road, isn't he the type of player you ride out if you have cup aspirations or even move other pieces out to keep? I know we're getting deep into hypotheticals, but it just seems like Stan overreacted to that Nashville sweep and tough 7-game loss to St. Louis. Sure, changes had to be made, I won't disagree, but moving out 2 of your best players for self-inflicted cap considerations, familiarity, and a youthful lottery ticket didn't exactly look good in the moment, and hasn't panned out since. Instead, there are 2 more black marks on a list of moves that's left the Blackhawks with the less than imposing 23-man that they have today. Is Quenneville to blame for this? Sure, he had his roster preferences and played his favorites like many a stingy bench boss, but he won. He continued to win. He won so much that you got
sick and tired of winning.
Sorry, I can't control him. I don't think anyone can. Anyway, it takes a special coach to bring a squad together like he did throughout the turnover of this roster. He shouldn't have gotten the axe for failing to bring together a depth chart this flawed, and not of his creation. Firing Quenneville doesn't erase Bowman's mistakes. It just magnifies them.
Another, please, with less water. I guess I should have had more faith. It's not faith you need. It's fear. What's this? It's secrets. What do you think it is? Look at how I'm dressed. Having taken aim at the system, are you afraid at all for your safety?
We do need to turn the page and we need to move forward. I'm excited with the direction that we're headed.
But I just feel like I come in here with a plan and the players are buying in, and that makes me feel good that we're...
Because it's all part of the plan.
No playoffs for the Chicago Blackhawks. You know, at the end of the night, the lights come up and the waiter brings you a bill.
Next card determining the destination for the first overall selection.
The first overall selection in the NHL draft belongs to